I think I was, one among the only girl who would play with the boys. When I'm on the field and when, I'm playing and I'm involved, I would feel happy because my father always treated me like a son. And probably that has gone deep down in my subconsciousness where I felt that, okay, there's nothing that I can't do. It was like 47 on 50, and I was like, wow, 47 on 50. And I looked at my friends, and my teacher looked at me. She took the paper from me and she double checked it, and she looked at me, she looked at the paper, she looked at me, she looked at the paper. And that impression of hers is still there with me, where I felt that, boss, when I become a teacher, I'm never going to do that. Why is like everything boils down to marks. I think my first salary amount was 8,000 rupees back in 2001. It was simple, just be the backbone for my parents.
Welcome, Rakhee.
Thank you, Abhijit.
Great to have you here with us, and
Pleasure.
really look forward to this podcast. I must tell the viewers and the listeners that me and Rakhee have had a little chat before, but that always helps because that helps me pose my questions better from the guest. Rakhee will straight away kick off, and like I mentioned to you during our conversation also. That before we get on to the present and etc., we always love to hear a little bit about the background of our guest and how your journey was, and both from personal learning perspective to the professional side as well. So we'll simply kick off from there. So let me, I've been watching this series on Netflix called Inventing Anna, and there is an interesting concept of an app called Wake, and which primarily talks about dreams and the power of the dreams and etc. So that's how I would like to kick off with you as well. That what was your dream as a child? That dream that you always dreamt of and got you excited, and that's something that when you grow up, this is what you would like to do, or maybe some other dream, this is what you would like to be. I would love to hear that, Rakhee.
That's a wonderful question. What was your dream? Because when we go back to childhood, all we remember are our dreams, So, yeah, I had, touch wood, I had a very, very happy childhood and, always playing around and always outside the house. I remember my mom used to, have a tough time calling me back home. So I think I was, one among the only girl who would play with the boys, cricket, marbles, you name it, football, soccer, whatever you name it, and I would be found with the boys. And I guess that's what kept me going, because I felt that when I'm on the field and when I'm playing and I'm involved, I would feel happy as compared to just sitting and probably just playing those typical games which my age girls would be playing, which I would find it boring, and I would be like, why don't you come and play with us? Why don't you try your hand at cricket? But yeah, my dream, I think, was to actually be, it was simple, just be the backbone for my parents. It was that simple. Yeah, I always felt that, because my father always treated me like a son, and probably that has gone deep down in my subconsciousness where I felt that, okay, there's nothing that I can't do. And my dream was always to, be there with them, for them, just like, not only emotionally, but also, give them the security that they gave me when I was growing up. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. In some way, I can completely relate with that, Rakhee, because my daughter is absolutely similar,
Yeah.
and she is again a cricketer,
Oh,
and
wow.
she
Okay.
is only found playing with the boys, and so that keeps the mom very very worried, because she always wonders, "Oh, uh, boys who will hit the ball so hard. How will you? Why are you playing with them? And etc. Or
Yes.
whatever."
Yes.
But nothing could stop her, and I continue to encourage her because
That's so nice. That's lovely.
I've
Please.
always seen, yeah, because I've also been into sports always, and I see that how sports actually, uh, you know, uh, creates the whole persona of a child in a completely different manner altogether, and far more outgoing and far more accepting of defeat also and failures also. All of that becomes a part of you learn to take it into your stride. So that's very interesting, and I can completely relate with your passion and how your parents continue to support you. So that's very interesting. Um, Now, from your dream perspective, it was also that as as a growing up child and getting into adulthood and etc. There must have been many pit stops, right, in life, and those pit stops actually teach you a lot. So, if there are any of those which you could share with us, and the kind of learning that you got from that, etc. So that will be very interesting to hear.
I think, now that you were talking about childhood, I also remembered that, when I was in school, so I was a very average student, never scored well, whereas my friends were, achievers, and they would score great marks, and especially math, science, in those days, the emphasis on math, science. So till today, of course, but, I would really try hard, but somehow maths would never come to me, probably because I never got the right teacher. And I realized, that my mother was equally bad at teaching maths. And so my foundations were absolutely shaken up. And the school teacher always paid attention to the ones who are achieving. And she never paid attention to the ones who are struggling. And it so happened that one of the tests I actually scored, it was a 50-mark test, and I actually scored 47. I remember my marks. I remember my paper right in front of me. It's so vivid, that memory. And I remember the teacher's expression so vividly, as if she's right there today in front of me. And the teacher was calling out the roll numbers, and she was distributing the papers. And it my roll number was called out, and I just went walking and said, okay, whatever it is, I don't care, kind of thing. And then I saw my marks, and it was like 47 on 50, and I was like, wow, 47 on 50. And I looked at my friends, and my teacher looked at me. She took the paper from me. She double checked it to see if she has done a mistake, and she double checked it, and she looked at me, she looked at the paper, she looked at me, she looked at the paper. And that impression of hers is still there with me, where I felt that, boss, when I become a teacher, I'm never going to do that. I'm never ever going to look at a student who has achieved after, repeatedly being subjected to failure, and who has finally achieved something. Instead of celebrating it, or instead of encouraging the child, you are doubting the child. So that look of hers has stayed with me. I don't know what she meant with that look. Maybe, it was out of concern or what, I don't know. But that memory has been with me all this while, and I've never been able to forget that. And I think that's where the stem was laid of me becoming someone whom I don't want to be like, whom I of becoming someone who is not like the teacher that I was experiencing. So I think the stem of what's laid over there, where I felt that, yes, one day when I become big and I get into the classroom, I'm never going to be biased. I'm never going to be discouraging my students the way you have discouraged me today, and the way you have let me down today. So yeah, so that was one instance where I felt that it was not required, and it has stayed with me. The other instance was, of course, being a sports player. I was very good in sports, and I used to represent my school. So I remember there was a throwball match happening during my 10th exams. Just before my 10th exam, we had a throwball match. And it was the last, I think, a few days before prelims. So we were playing the match, and there was, I think, a last point that was left, and we scored, and we won. So I remember again being called into the staff room, and being told that, okay, okay, all this is okay. Now that you have done, you have to focus on your studies. To which I felt that, why is, like, everything boils down to marks? Why isn't that the child is encouraged for something that is happening right in front of them, which is positive? Something, sports is positive. You're achieving, you're excelling in something that you're good at. So these instances have stayed with me in my childhood. Moving ahead, I think college was pretty easy for me. I really did not find it difficult to sail through college life, probably because the way I expected college to be, it wasn't that great for me. uh, and it was kind of a little disappointing, where I felt that, oh, is this college? I mean, nothing great about it. Just the fact that you're allowed to bunk lectures, and that's it, and the freedom that's given to you, that's it. So somewhere, college life did not really resonate with me. Of course, the kind of education that I got, yes, it was something that I enjoyed, but apart from that, it kind of didn't resonate with me, and I was still searching that what is it that I want to do, what is it that I want to do, because this was not satisfying. So school wasn't satisfying, college wasn't satisfying. Still the search was on. You're out of college, and then you do what the people are doing around you, appear for your MBA CET examination, because everyone is doing that. So you get into that, you appear for that test, and then you realize that, because you are a girl, your parents are not okay to send you out of the city. And that's where you easily give up on your dreams. And then again, you are searching and wondering that, okay, now what's next? What else can I do? What else can I do? And while all this is happening, you're seeing people around you, you're seeing, so I have a brother. He was obviously working at that point in time. He was doing well in life. And somewhere I felt a little insecure, and I felt that, okay, why is it that I'm not allowed to do what he's allowed to do? Why is it that he's allowed to have late nights? I'm not allowed to have late nights. I got admission in a college in Pune. Why is it that I'm not allowed to go to Pune and study further for my MBA? So I was not happy with that status quo, and I was kind of searching and quite a rebel, and would really trouble my parents. But eventually, I found my calling when I entered into I actually was volunteering for an NGO. And that's where I think I found my calling, where I was with a set of kids. They were around seventh standard kids, and I was with them for, I think, a week or so. And that's where I got the calling, where I felt that, yeah, I want to be with the kids, and I want to understand what they think, how they think, because the kind of energy that they give me is the kind of energy that I want. It's pure, and it's positive energy that I get from them. And I think that's where a solid foundation was laid. I think the stem was born like when I was in school, and then the foundation was laid when I volunteered. And then I went figuring out that, okay, what is it that I can do, and how can I become a teacher? And it so happened that, my best friend was pursuing a teacher training course, and I was helping her, create teaching aids and create lesson plans. And I found it really, really interesting and challenging. And that's where I felt that, okay, I want to do this, and I jumped into it. So pitfalls, I think it happens for the good, because if it wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have got the direction, and you wouldn't have been where you are today. So in a way, I'm really, really thankful to the experiences and to the stopgaps that I've had in life. Of course, it requires patience. It requires one to look ahead of those falls, and look at the positive side of those falls. But yeah, it's difficult at that point in time when you're going through it. But once you go through it and you look back, you feel, wow, I'm glad it happened. So similarly, in 2020, 2021, we've all had struggles. We've all had our own struggles during the pandemic, where, I had reached a point where I felt that, okay, nothing doing, let's shut shop and let's shut the company, and let's, just do something else in life. But yeah, I think God has his own ways of keeping you going, even if there's one reason strong enough for you to keep you going, it's enough. And I think that is what has happened. Every time I've thought of giving up, uh, somebody has turned up, or some reason has become that strong enough for me not to give up. So yeah, I'm thankful to God for doing that. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing because, like I said, when you told us the first time from your childhood perspective, that again, I relate a lot, from a daughter's perspective.
Mm.
Um, Maths was a big challenge. Uh, till day, she's extremely scared of math. And like you rightly said, that, teachers make a big difference. Because I saw that very categorically happening in her case, that she was very interested in history, right? And she had a good teacher initially, and she was very interested in history. And we were very encouraging to her that, in fact, we made her, she dropped because there was an option in the school that she would drop mathematics in eighth. So we made her drop mathematics in eighth because it was just becoming a huge trauma for her, right? And we saw that there's no pushing her in that direction. So we do with mathematics. We find ways how she manages with numbers later in life, but right now there is no point pushing her through it. But coming back to history, she loved it, but the later on teachers were great. And then she completely lost interest in history. And she found it very boring and etc. or whatever. So you're absolutely right that teachers make a huge, huge difference in a situation like that. And I'm really, amazed and very interested to see the kind of pitch stops that you told me about. That very interestingly, that stereotyping sometimes becomes the biggest challenge, right? Where
Yeah.
you feel that only marks are important, or
Yes.
secondly, maybe that girls do not get that kind of freedom as boys.
Freedom. Yeah.
So this kind of stereotyping, of course, lays down a lot of challenges for someone to actually go ahead. But amazing story, Raki. Really, really happy to hear
Yeah.
that, and
But
etc.
I think
And
dad,
also,
fathers like you play an important role out here because my dad always treated me as equal. And he would always tell my mother that, let her do what she wants to do. So don't stop her because it's like I think he saw that, there's someone who's wanting to spread her wings and, why stop and cut those wings? So I think, yeah, fathers like you play an important role.
yes, I mean, father-daughter always have extremely, extremely special bond. So that is something that we find it extremely precious to have, and so that's there. But the other point also which you made was absolutely brilliant. That during COVID when you were just about to shut shop, etc., then God gives you that one reason to continue, right?
Yeah.
It is amazing, and I've now that you say it, even I see that many times you reach that point where
Yeah.
you think that everything is shutting down or whatever. Then comes along one reason which just pushes you ahead, and that's what happens. So fantastic. I'm sure that as you move from being a student to getting your first job and etc. Earning your first salary, like you said, that you always wanted to be a backbone to your parents, right? So earning that first salary must have given you a huge sense of power and
Yeah.
a fulfillment that now I can really be the backbone to my parents. I
It did.
can do anything that I really want. Give you the sense of independence and freedom, etc.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear that just the way that you told me about that incident when the 47 out of 50 happened. I'm sure when you got your first money in the bank, similar sort of a thing would have happened.
Yes, so I remember, my being a teacher was also something which was destined, because when I went for the admission, it was the course had already started, and so when I decide to do something, I don't know, there's a sense of conviction with which I do things, and when I walked into the college and I said that okay, I want to enroll for the early childhood education course, they were like, sorry, ma'am, it's already been like close to 1 month that the course has started, and you can't. Please go. Come next year. And I was like, next year? No, I'm not doing that. I wanted this year. So I said, let me speak to your principal. And I went and spoke to the principal, and she said the same thing that, sorry, it's not going to be possible for you this year. Come back next year. When and but if somebody leaves the course, which so happens, but if somebody leaves, we will give you a call. And I said, okay, I got a point. And I was just walking down the stairs, and I was just talking to God. So I have this habit. For me, God is like a friend. So I was just talking to him. I said, okay, please, you have to get this done. And when I walked down and I reached the ground floor, a student came towards me and asked me, do you need admission? I said, yes, I do. Okay, great. I'm leaving the course. I said, I couldn't believe it. I said, really, you're leaving the course? She's like, yes, I'm leaving the course. And if you want admission, you pay me the fees. And I don't know all of that. You come with me right now to the principal. Let's give the news. Then we will sort out the finances. You just come with me. I held her hand. I took her up and I barged into the room. I said, ma'am, you said if somebody leaves, you'll give me an admission. Give me the admission. So here, this girl is leaving. And she was like, flabbergasted. She's like, at first she wanted to talk to that girl, why she's leaving, why she's quitting. She said, okay, you stand out first, let me talk. And it's so happened, it got sorted. That girl left. I entered. And when I entered, I was already late, and they said, you have to buck up and you have to pick up these concepts. We are going to start lessons, and you really have to lots of work to do. And I was like, yeah, it's going to happen. Don't worry. And it was just the mere conviction that yeah, I want to do it, so it'll happen. And come what may, how much ever I'm lagging, I will take care of it. So I did, start my early childhood education course. I finished it, and I got my job in the same school that conducted the course. That's Arividya Mandir. I got my job over there, my first job, and I think my first salary amount was 8,000 rupees back in 2001. It was 8,000 rupees, and that was the fourth pay commission that the school was giving us. And when I got that salary, and so I've always been independent. I never took money from my parents. Even during my college years, I would work with this marketing agency called IMRB, and I would earn money by conducting surveys and doing all sorts of jobs, giving tuitions. So I was never dependent on them. And when I got the first salary, as you rightly said, I tasted freedom, and I said, okay, now I was very fond of traveling. So I said, yeah, the first thing I want to do is I travel. But before, of course, I did that. I got a small, you know, uh, for my mother. She was very fond of music. So I got a small, what do you call those sets that used to come audio, those tape recorders.
Cassette player, CD player,
Cassette players,
tape
those tape
recorders.
recorders.
Yeah, cassette players.
So
Yes,
yeah, I got a
yes.
small portable tape recorder for her to listen to, songs and her bhajans that she used to listen to. So that was, like that sense of, fulfillment that I got. That thank you for, making me take my own decisions, and allowing me to go and experiment with my life. So I think that there was more of a sense of gratitude at that point in time. And yeah, so I think that's how I started. So freedom, I would say, came to me much early, but realization of the responsibility was when I got my first paycheck. That's where I felt responsible. That's where I felt that okay, you know it's not going to be easy. There's that whole lot of 1 month of hard work that goes into doing what you're doing, sweating it out, and then you get that salary, and then it's so easy to spend that money in a jiffy. But you take 1 month to earn that money. So that's where the realization struck that yeah, it's not easy, and you got to be wise. You got to grow your money, and that's how my interest was in how can you compound your money, because you know how a teacher's salary is, it's not that great. So the next best option that a teacher can have is to think of ways to compound the money rather than keeping it idle in the bank. So that's where my interest was. Then I got into trading and share markets, and I sat with my dad, and I understood that okay, how do you kind of trade, and if I were to give you something, how would it multiply. So I guess that's the realization that set in, that okay, now with the limited resources, how can you spread your wings and how can you multiply your money.
So actually, that brings me to the next question that you would have had a lot of inspirations in life, right? One of them I can kind of see maybe is your dad, right? And but I would love to, so apart from any very well known person whom you may have drawn inspiration from, someone else that you drew inspiration from, and what was it in that person that inspired you the most? What is it that you have imbibed out of that inspiration?
So, yes, that definitely, as you rightly pointed out, he was someone who started from scratch and made it big. So, and he was someone who most of the times used to work from home. So it was more of incidental learning that was happening when I would watch him and I would be around him. So I wouldn't be really paying attention, but it's just, the subconscious learning that would keep happening. So his journey inspired me, where he started from zero and he became a hero. So yes, zero to hero was something that always people who start from scratch and climb up the ladder the right way. That's something that has always inspired me. Apart from that, during my growing years, uh, I wasn't really. looking at any figure per se, but yeah, qualities I would say that would attract me in people around was being humble and respectful, being honest in what they do, uh, having a vision, in and believing in that vision, which my dad did. Also, having faith in one's dreams, because I also remember that when I went for the college admission, I had exactly those qualities which I would adore or admire in people around me, where I felt that no, I believe that I want to do this. I have the conviction that I will be able to do this, and no stone will be left unturned once I get into it, because I had the faith that I will surpass all the challenges. So I felt that, you know, as kids, it's very important to role model, especially for parents, because when we are growing up, we for us the world is revolves around our parents and our friends and maybe a few close relatives whom we are in touch with. But for us, it was mostly our parents and my best friend's family, a few close relatives, and again, when it came to my friend's family, it was the same attitude where girls were not given freedom, and they had restrictions that okay, you can't be playing down beyond 7 p.m., you got to be doing your household duties. So it was those similar situations which would make me feel that no, this needs to change, and I exactly knew how it should not be, and that's how I was clear about how it should be. You know, I felt that the qualities of the people around me, that was more helpful during my growing years, when I was seeing people around me having those qualities. That was helpful for me. I didn't really have any idol except you know observing and following my dad. Yeah, during my growing years.
I could make that out because
Yeah.
he does seem like a gem of a person.
Yes.
So I can really understand the kind of close proximity that you have with your dad.
Yeah.
So he would be an extremely inspiring person. Coming to your professional life now, you were an early intervention specialist at the Samarthal Center for Autism. Right?
Yeah.
Tell us something about that. That's a
Yeah.
area
Yeah.
that
That.
sounds very interesting and something where you have observed so many things. And for our viewers, do tell us a little bit about autism so
Autism.
that they can
Yes.
really understand the
Yeah, that's a
context.
great question. As I was pointing out that, when I got to my first job in 2001, that went on till 2005, because after that I felt a little stagnant, and I felt that, okay, there's more to do as compared to just being in the same classroom and doing the same teaching. Because, during my period of teaching, I also taught children with learning disabilities. Now, learning disabilities basically is it's an invisible disability where you can't see that the child has a disability, as compared to a physical disability where you can see that there are challenges. But learning disabilities are invisible disabilities. It is mostly related to reading, writing and math. And these kind of problems, the child usually starts these problems usually start surfacing during the third and the fourth grade of schooling life. And that's where suddenly parents realize that, oh my god, first second there was no issue, now how come there are issues? So yeah, these issues are there, but it's just that they start surfacing during the third and the fourth grade, because of the only reason that it gets more abstract and complex for their brain. And for some, it's like the brain functions faster than their hands, and that's the reason why they are not able to write properly. For some, reading becomes an issue, decoding words, spellings, the phonetic rules. All those are very complex for them to understand. So whether it's dyslexia, dysgraphia, or dyscalculia, it's a different approach for each child. Of course, now things have changed. We have special educators in school to help them with remediation. There are special concessions available for children with learning disabilities. When they appear for their grade 10, we don't deduct their marks for spellings and for silly mistakes. So all those relaxations are given. So when I had that brief period where I underwent a course in learning disability, I felt very rewarding, when I was working with a child with learning disability, and it was my case study, and I was told to work on one problem area and show improvement in that area. So when I did that, and I felt satisfied, that kind of made me again go towards the other path, or take the other path of teaching. I resigned in 2005, and I started studying further. I got married in 2005, and then I resigned, and then I started studying after I got married. And 2006 7, I was studying. I did my B.Ed, I did my M.Ed in special education. And when I was doing my M.Ed in special education, I so we have to choose our specialization, and that's where I chose my specialization as autism. And why I chose autism was because, again, I feel that I'm attracted to challenges, and autism is one spectrum which is very challenging, where the child faces difficulties. So there are cognitive challenges. There's a speech problem. There are a whole lot of issues when it comes to autism. But having said that, autism is not a disease that it can be cured. It is a developmental delay that happens. And that's the reason why the pediatrician always, when the mother takes the child to the pediatrician is always checking, in terms of the milestones of the child, whether the child is achieving those milestones on time, 1 2 months here and there, it's fine. But if it's not happening within that stipulated time frame, then the pediatrician needs to look into it. And that's why those early visits to the pediatricians and doctors are very, very essential, not only for your checkups, but also for checking the milestones. And that's where I think most of the parents, especially the low economic strata, they obviously cannot afford regular checkups, and they don't know that they have to keep a check on the milestones. I think that's where they miss out on looking at those milestones and understanding that yes, there could be a problem. A simple thing like child not able to give you eye contact, that's something which can be identified right by, I think, the child is 8 months. Till 7th 8th months, if the child is not able to give you an eye contact, that's the first red signal, that's the first sign. So there are different parameters. So milestone is something that I would really, really request each and every parent of the early years, that be very, very concerned about milestones. And if not achieved within a stipulated time frame, speak to your pediatrician. Ask whether it's normal or it's not. So when I did my thesis in autism, it was I wanted to work in the early intervention space, because I knew that early intervention space is where you can actually help the child cope up, especially when it comes to autism, because it's a developmental delay. You can help the child cope up in the early years. And there are many, many early intervention methods that are available today. And one of those methods that I specialized in during my thesis was called the flow time approach. I also have a research paper with my guide that's published, and it's available on InTech journal. It's online, free article. Now, when we did our thesis, and I did my thesis, and I remember my guide was so strict with me. I remember her throwing my, papers on my face and saying that, come, you don't know how to write a hypothesis. Go back. And, the kind of work that she expected from me, I think that came out thanks to her. Because had she not been so strict, and had she not been so particular about my thesis, I don't think I would have done that great a job. So of course, when we go through these struggles, we feel that why the hell, is she being so, stuck on? What happens if she can, at one point in time, I just told her, I said, ma'am, why don't you only correct it? You're not happy with whatever I'm writing. And she was like, no, sorry, you will have to come back to me. And that's the time where we feel that, okay, teachers really don't know how to deal with us. But the fact is that they really know how to deal with us, because they know what we are capable of. And that's where I really thank her, that yeah, you got the best out of me. Had you not been there, I would have submitted something, and I would have just got done with that. So we realized that that's the kind of hard work that one needs to put. So after I got done with my thesis, and my thesis went well because the area of my research was very, very new. And my guide had warned me that you won't find information. You will have to surf the internet. You will have to contact people from abroad. And that time we had Yahoo groups back then. We didn't have WhatsApp and all of those things. And, Yahoo was as a search engine. Yeah, we used to use that. And I remember being a part of Yahoo groups of parents with autism, and then asking those parents about what are they doing, are they following flow time approach, if yes, how are they doing it, because that approach was a very challenging approach. So I was fortunate enough to build a rapport with one parent who would actually send me ways in which she would try that approach with her child during play area, during bathing time, during lunchtime. So she would actually give me like notes and send it across via email saying that, hey, during lunchtime, I have tried this. During the bathing time, I tried this. This is what happened. He gave me eye contact for like 9 seconds. He sat down like for like, 1 minute. So these are some achievable milestones because children with autism are always on the go. They have sensory difficulties, you know uh, so a whole lot of things. But some of these traits, where they don't give you eye contact, they have sensory difficulties, the speech is impaired. Yeah, some of them, of course, if they're on the spectrum, if they have Asperger's and they are high, they're quite intelligent, they are on the higher IQ side, they're on the other side of the spectrum. But autism per se, yes, there are these challenges. So a whole lot of effort that went into gathering the data for my thesis. I think my guide saw all of that, and that's how I was offered the job in her NGO, where she said that, okay, now that you have really given your best, why don't you work with us and practice this as an early intervention specialist, and see for yourself that your research can actually do wonders. And again, because I did something so well, and with a lot of hard work, I was able to achieve it. With the help of my guide, I was able to achieve it. I was offered the job and I quickly took it up. It was a part-time job because working with children with autism can actually be quite tiring, especially in the early intervention age, because you have to be on the go with them. And that approach required me to be on the go, on my toes. So she herself told me that I don't think you can do more than three sessions in a day with the kids. So that's how I started working part time with the NGO. And the remaining time, I didn't want to lose my thread with the early childhood education space. So, I also, meanwhile, started designing content for preschools. So, I was getting these contracts as a freelancer, and I was designing content for them. I was designing worksheets. I was designing, lesson plans and all of that. So that was going on side by side while I was also working. So that's how I got into the early intervention space, thanks to my guide. And that went on till I conceived my first child, because after that I was asked to leave, because I think when I was 7 months pregnant, my guide told me that, okay, now it's not really safe for you to be around kids with autism, and maybe once you're settled, you can come back. But then life took a different turn. Yeah.
So, it's such an interesting story.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have actually worked and, imbibed so much by working with these special need kids. And I'm sure that it must be extremely satisfying in sort of time that you spend there with them and trying to bring in a change where it mattered so much, right? Interestingly, I hear two things from your stories till now. One, that you had a bad teacher, you know, that mathematics one. And then you had a great guide, right,
Yeah.
who helped you write this. So I think you were well poised to now start your next venture, which is teachers help teacher, right? You had examples of both. So tell us about this current venture of yours and what are you doing in, what are you doing really there, and how are you helping teachers?
So before Teachers Help Teachers, there was SciEduServe that came up. SciEduServe, as I said, that I was developing content. And when I was developing content, I realized that, people, with absolutely zero background in education were coming to me and asking me to build content that was not at sync with the child developmental level. principles, and that's what would kind of irk me. And then I remember calling one of my friends and telling her that, hey, I'm planning to start my own company in content designing. Why don't you join me? And she was like, how the hell are we going to get projects? Who knows us? And I said, no, that you leave to me, but if you join me, then obviously it's 1 plus 1, and then we can take up more projects. And she was like, okay, fine, she just went with the flow. And I remember doing these odd projects, and then I started placing ads on Google, and I got a couple of projects for small preschools, where we got to design our own curriculum for them. We told them that this is how the curriculum should be, and we sold the curriculum to them, and that was like the first small project that we started with. And then when I remember when I conceived and I was back from the hospital, that's where I got one of my biggest project, where I was asked to develop the curriculum for an upcoming international school. So I think when you have conviction and when you know that you're going to do it come what may, things come your way. The universe conspires it and sends it your way. So that's what I have been observing in people around me, and that's the quality that I've imbibed. That, yeah, if you believe in, and if you really really want to do it, it'll happen. And when I got that first project, and my friend was really concerned that how will you manage? You just have a baby. But fortunately, because it was work from home, you just had to build content like a couple of hours in the day. It was something which kept me going, where I felt creative. I felt that yes, I am contributing and I am utilizing my skills, and I'm not letting it rust. So that sense of work gave me gave a boost to my sense of self image at that point in time, apart from being a mother. So I kept at it. We did a lot of projects. I think from 2009 to 2015, we were doing back to back projects, where 2015 was my last project, which was for setting up a preschool in Sangli for an industrialist who wanted to give back to his town. And after that, I felt stagnant again. And I was like, okay, now 6 years done, so many curriculums we have made. What other, creativity input can we bring into the curriculum? I think this is saturated now. And also the copy paste culture that we have, where, you give the curriculum to someone and that someone gives it to 10 other people. So that's something that we saw happening. And I think my friend also shifted to Singapore. So that's where I felt that, okay, now it's about time to look at something else. So I started looking at, again, understanding what is it that I can do. So again, the search started. And I remember I got the job of being an academic director for a preschool chain that was coming up in India at that point in time in 2015. And I was supposed to design the preschools, design the curriculum, appoint the teachers, train the teachers, do the curriculum. So everything, all sort of preschool stuff. So I did that. I found that interesting. Interesting. I took it up, but again, within 3 months, I conceived. So God had different plans for me. And when I conceived, I obviously had to tell the owner that, okay, I won't be able to continue and travel with you all across India. So to which he said, okay, then I don't need you, because I want someone who can travel. And at that point in time, I was again let down because of the only fact that, yeah, the society judged the woman that, okay, once she's pregnant, she's of no use. So that's something where I felt that, yeah, even I would not like to work with someone who believes and who has these kind of ethics. So I think it was an insightful exit for me. And I took a sabbatical. I said, okay, that's it. Let's pause. Uh, Went on uh, researching. I said, okay, the best thing that I can do during this time is research. That time, Facebook groups were emerging, and I started researching on Facebook groups. And by the end of 2015, I think I floated this group called Teachers Help Teachers after I drew my insights into the research. And when I floated this group, it took me 2 years just to get engagement going, because nobody would talk, nobody would share, nobody would do anything on the group. So I, started doing everything that I wanted my group members to do. I started posting queries. I started sharing news. I started sharing my thoughts about education. I started inviting people. I started asking queries, because at that point in time, I was also, taking students with learning disabilities. So, I would give them some kind of tuitions, where I felt that, okay, if I can help them with my knowledge, why not? So I would take a few students, they would come home, And after 2 years, 2017, the group went on autopilot mode. And then Facebook recognition came in. Group got selected as one of the top 10 groups in Asia Pacific region, as a group that is not only committed to a cause, but is also helping teachers grow, and both offline and online. And that's something that I started doing, where I started meeting teachers offline, and Facebook saw all of that and they selected us. And that's where I got the opportunity to meet Sheryl Sandberg. I was invited to Singapore. And then I got the opportunity over there to meet Sheryl Sandberg with the other group admins that were selected. So I think that again was an aha moment where I felt that yes, I think this teachers help teachers group that I have started, though I had no idea where how it would go, where it would go, but the conviction was enough for me to keep sailing ahead. And that's how I stuck to it. And I kind of you know I started building, and I started devising ways. My friends joined me again, uh, and that's how the journey began, where 2019 I established the company. And we started. Yeah.
So, I mean, as I can see that everything has a certain flow from earlier to what you are doing today, and that kind of you are also kind of connecting the dots in between.
Yeah.
Uh, that even though you were searching for something new,
Yeah.
it was always related with something old.
Okay.
Right. So yes, that's very interesting. Okay. So I respect that you have a 12 o'clock hard stop. So I will come down to my last two questions, even though I have many more planned, but I know we can't do that today, but we shall see. So my next one is actually about that there is a significant amount of digital transformation which is happening in education today. Right? And online is significantly growing and etc. Do you think that it is currently just a fad where everybody is jumping onto the bandwagon, or there is a definite need perspective where it will be able to sustain in the future? So,
Yeah.
what are your views on online education?
I think online education is something which has, got comfortable with in the adult space. So we adults are very comfortable with, in the online learning space. Children, however, I would say are, not so ready. But in the adult space, online learning is something which everybody is embracing, be it a short-term course or be it a long-term course. It for the fact that you are getting to attend lectures hosted by Harvard. That itself is something which kind of gives you the opportunity that yeah, I'm that there's knowledge. It doesn't need any geographical boundary. It's not limited. So I would definitely say that for those people. So first of all, online. Let's look at online education. Online education makes it very convenient and feasible, and in terms of fees, it's not as high as you would be attending a physical session in a campus. If you were to enroll in for any course in a campus, that's going to be like a much higher fees as compared to doing it online. So that's again one significant factor because of which people are more drawn, because of the financials attached to it. So that's one reason. Second reason is, of course, you're learning from the comfort of your home. You have the best of the best faculty available who can be drawn. Uh, and on top of it, you also have a cohort, So even if things are not working out, that you're a part of that cohort. The WhatsApp community is there. The people come together. Then also you have the support of your other members in the cohort with whom you can do your projects. So it kind of has got very comfortable for people, especially adults, to kind of grow themselves with these online in the online space. Let's look at upgrad. The growth that it has had in the last 5 years, especially post pandemic. I think they have expanded, and they have in fact included a separate vertical. First, initially they were only targeting people in the managerial space, but now they have absolutely expanded their verticals. And that's where I feel that if we have to stay relevant, upskilling is a must. There's no escape. And if upskilling is a must, how do you find out time with your job? That's only possible. That's only possible when you're a part of a cohort online. So you are not only being a part of the cohort online and learning, you're also doing your job side by side. So that's, I think, has become very convenient for people nowadays to stay relevant in their job and also to side by side work by not giving up their job. So I think that's here to stay. It's not a fad, it's here to stay. And in the next upcoming few years, once we see the internet connectivity being provided in the rural areas, I feel that's going to be the way. Anyway, that's happening where children are learning through YouTube. There are teachers who actually showcase YouTube videos in their classroom, so that's anyway happening. We can't stop the influence of technology. We can only embrace it, and we can only club it to make the experience better. I'm not saying that it's a substitute for the teacher, but yes, it is an aid, and it's a beautiful aid to even allow the children to become self learners. Not necessarily everything your teacher will teach you. There are a whole lot of streams available out there. You pick your interest, you choose it, and you just go ahead. It's all there on the internet for you to find out, to figure out. You just got to be a self learner. That's it. And I think that's where the difference lies today, where we have to instill the love for knowledge rather than pushing knowledge. So that's where the difference lies. And once that is established, I think nobody can stop anyone from learning. Yeah.
Great. I like the statement where you say that the love for knowledge is something
Yeah.
that you need to encourage, because and that's when the platforms and the whole digital and
Yeah.
the online part can really be helpful in doing that. In fact, one of the things which is there, let's say the two sides of the coin, is that along with the digital education and the online education, etc., comes online examinations and
Yeah.
online assessments, right? Now, those are till date, people feel that those are the weakest link as far
Yeah.
as online education is concerned. How important that you think are these online examinations to complete the
Mhm.
online education aspect, and whether because they are kind of considered as extremely a weak link, this entire thing, how do you think that that is impacting the whole growth of online education per se, and the respect which online education is unable to get because the online examinations are weak, that because IITs are IITs because of the G exam which happens, right? Highly secure. UPSC is UPSC because of the highly secure examination, tough examination. So if examinations are so critical, but the online education suffer from very weak online examinations. So what are your thoughts on online examinations, let's say?
Yes. So online examination again with the growth of technology, I don't think that's anymore going to be a challenge because we have various platforms, softwares available now. Uh, Especially even during the pandemic, we saw that even when it came to handling examinations of students online, uh, there were ways and means to do it. And online assessment is equally important, uh, just like you were to do a course physically and have a physical assessment. Similarly, online assessments hold the same importance. And in terms of, undermining online courses just because online assessments cannot happen, I feel that would be, one of the biggest drawback if the online assessment system is not set. That would be one of the biggest drawback and biggest hurdle for anyone who would want to take up an online course. So having said that, we already have platforms that have online assessments that actually provide support for online assessment. And they I think there is this mm, platform. I'm not able to recollect their name. So yeah, I have personally seen those demos and I've seen how they work, and how it kind of is as similar to a situation as you are physically giving your examination. So we are getting there. It's not that we are avoiding it, or we don't know, we don't have the technical know-how, because people have realized that if at all a course needs to be substantial enough and at par with any other university offering it offline, then we need to include this aspect of assessment and make it as relevant and as reliable as an offline assessment. So that's where I would say that I don't see any difference. We need to provide the same kind of assessment that universities, colleges are providing offline. And thanks to the technology, the growth of the technology, we have these kind of platforms which have enabled online companies, e-learning companies, to make it possible. And without that, I think these courses would hold no importance. If these online assessments are not being conducted, then I think these courses would not hold important, especially if, let's say, if you're doing a long-term course with, with a university, uh, and if there is no assessment that's happening, I don't think that course would hold that kind of importance, or it would be that relevant as compared to a degree offline or attained offline.
Well, thanks a lot, Rakhee. And we are exactly on time. It's 11:58.
Thank you.
And yes, so we did manage time very, very well. But thank you so much, Rakhee. It was
Thank you
such
so
a
much.
pleasure. And you were so candid in your, whatever that you told us about, and
Always. Yeah.
etc. And that's always very, very helpful,
Yeah.
because that's what exactly the viewers and the listeners want to hear out. Uh, Thank you so much. And I hope to stay in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And also, I hope that your son's fracture is,
Yes, 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 yes. All well.
it's
Thank you.
healing up well. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So much for
All
that.
right. Okay. Thank you so much, Rakhee. And
Great. Have
hope
a
to see
nice
you soon.
day. Yes. See you soon.
Okay. You too. Yes. Bye bye.